Okay, welcome to our after show, our wrap up. I like to call it our credits, whatever you want to call it. It is our moment after Roseville Beach. Congratulations, we have gone through a very emotional journey and ride, and we've dealt with crazy things, and we've met some crazy people, and sometimes we've even been those crazy people. Just to remember who we all are, let's go around and talk. Remind ourselves who we are. So, my name is Alex. I am our GM and narrator for the fourth season of the queeRPG podcast.
I am Kenzie Tartaglione. You all know my voice from being the creative director of the podcast, but this season, I didn't have to do that. In this season, I play Lou, our wonderful little himbo.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valiant Dorian. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I am a cast member of season 4 of queeRPG. And I played Orion, who also uses he, him pronouns, our beloved little siren.
And I guess that's me. Hi, I am Dan Pixel, Pyxel, they, them, and I have been in the cast of this season of Moonlight and Roseville Beach. And I've been playing Alex Cho, the last witch of Roseville Beach.
Oof.
That goes hard.
Ooh.
Still goes
that
hard.
specific thing, when you said that, actually, I should have mentioned that, because that fucked.
I love little monikers. Monikers is like one of my favorite things, like giving things like moments and people like subtitles and labels.
so
I love
good at
doing it. It's my favorite.
And also, I'm Ash Westover. My pronouns are she, they. I am a producer over here at queeRPG, and I've been the person behind the scenes screaming at my computer this whole season. In laughter, in fear, and all of it, all of the above.
Yeah, and so I think a really good place to begin is with our characters. I would just love to know a little bit more about why we chose to play the characters that we chose to play, and I'm going to throw in, give yourself a moniker, give yourself a title. I actually did this with all the guest stars. Before we got to really build out their character, they told me what their sort of title was. They imagined it like a Scooby-Doo episode. So for example, when we had Nana Rose on the show,
all, actually,
she was
though.
the fishmonger with loose lips. So give yourself, I know. I know. Give yourself a Scooby-Doo episode title before you introduce, or tell us why you chose your character.
I mean, I think Lou's title is just like the repairman. Like, I don't think that there's anything more to that than that. I think what's so interesting about Lou, actually, is that she's this, 1970s butch lesbian, and then, like, halfway through the season, I realized that I have just made a character based on my dad. Which is so cool, and like, me and my dad have a great relationship, so that's not like a weird thing. But like, growing up, like, my father spent his whole life doing maintenance work in like hospitals and assisted living homes, and to this day, like, he retired and then was like, but what if I start my own business to just help the elderly? Like, what if that's my... And I was like, Dad, you're almost 80 years old. You are now the elderly. Like, what do you mean? And he just, like, does, for no pay, like, he'll go fix someone's plumbing. And I just feel like that is the essence of Lou, and just this idea of, like, I want to help people and I want to fix things. And even if I didn't know that that was like the spirit of my dad when I made the character, it's really cool to end this and like recognize that and feel like a little bit of connection there, I think.
Do you feel like you know your dad a little bit better now?
Consciously, yes. I don't think any of this was a surprise to me, but I don't think, like, I was like 6 years old. I didn't recognize any of these qualities in my father. And then now, like, doing this and being like, oh, wait, I grew up with a man who had all of these qualities to him. And I think it's just like I've never played a character that was as personal in the sense of like being outwardly personal. Like I've played a lot of characters that are like embodying me, but I've never played something where I've been like, oh, I'm embodying this other person in my life that's like a great person. So that was kind of cool to recognize in the last few episodes.
Arian, like several of my characters, started off as like a little whisper that became extremely insistent and loud in my brain until he was birthed finally. Because I remember coming into our kind of like earlier development sessions, keeping an open mind, wanting to hear what folks had in mind. And I saw The Stranger, I saw Beneath the Seas, and then from there I was like, all right, I guess I'm making a siren, a male siren. Cool. And a lot of the things I wanted to like tap into with I'm gonna say this and everyone who knows me is gonna be like, oh really? You did that? So I'm I'm recognizing that right now. I really wanted to get into the monstrosity of it all, just like the rest of my characters that I do is that I delve into some level of monstrosity. This is my bag. But like genuinely, I really wanted to engage with the like I really wanted to engage with like Greek myth. I think Greek myth is super interesting. I think we've been given like very, very interesting stories and perspectives on sirens, and I wanted to give my own that is really, really tied to Greek storytelling as well as taps into the level of like strangeness and monstrosity and feeling new things and at the end of the day being at the end of the day like being faced with a choice and what do you do when you've discovered that you are more than you've ever thought you were, and that whatever answers you were hoping for your life just doesn't sit in any neat category. You just have to live with that complexity for the rest of your life.
Did Ariane end up being the kind of monster you envisioned when you created them?
No, definitely not. I had a little room in my mind for a more sinister Arian to really play into the more siren like monstrosity of it all. The idea of like scheming and luring and tricking things, being this sort of like trickster character, which I think he still was in the end. But I don't think we went quite into that extent. I think he became a different kind of monster. And the kind of monster that he is the I mean, we're just taking the whole Stranger playbook and just going deep into the little pillars of it, right? Of the fact that like at the end of the day, you are other. At the end of the day, you are like far more complicated than just being called monster and just being called human. You are a weird mess. And maybe the only place where you can be quote unquote like normal or like be seen as you, capital Y U, is Roseville Beach, because we have everyone here, right? From all sorts of backgrounds. And I think that's the kind of monster that Arian ended up being. He's fiercely and primarily loyal. And I think that's the like I don't think in the entirety of our episodes we like shied away from the fact that he will hiss and bite someone to protect the people he likes and loves, right? So I think that was the more of the monster we ended up seeing from him.
What's his moniker?
That's hard.
The siren.
He is the siren, but I'm also going to actually call him the false siren, because he is sort of a siren.
I
he's sort of
submitted a
not.
question about this that we'll get to later.
Uh-oh. Terrifying.
Audience questions. No.
Is audience or producer question?
Audience
Listen,
producer,
when the audience is
producing
currently an
audience.
audience of one,
Many hats, many hats.
it's both.
I think the subtitle for Alix is The Brave Runaway. And I think with her, it's really interesting because what like I had in mind when I built her was originally much more along the lines of a kind of heroic trope where it was like I mean, she very much has like loner energy, but she's obviously not a loner. Like she's so reliant on the people around her, and like, or rather, she's like knows that they're kind of reliant on her in a lot of ways. But like she was initially built um as this like, oh, I made a bad deal and I'm going to stand up against it and I'm going to fight it. But this year, like when we were really starting to do the character building for this, I think I was in the middle of like doing my writing my Candela one shot for Bad House, and that one was heavily steeped in like this kind of storytelling that I've really wanted to focus my aim on, which is what is the mundane sort of monstrosity of love. And I've been thinking about this a lot since again, in the way that like people who know me are gonna go like, yeah, no shit, Dan. Like I've been on this sort of train of thought for storytelling really since Arcane. Is that this like love is neither good nor evil. It simply is, and it inspires acts of good and acts of evil. And sometimes horrid acts, but it also inspires bravery and cowardice. It inspires a will to fight and a want to flee. It inspires acts of greed and selfishness, and it inspires selflessness and protection. It simply is. And the thing was, like, I hadn't initially thought of Alex as someone who was a lover at creation. And then at some point between first session, or between like session 0 and first session, I was like, oh. And I messaged Alex and I was like, I think that the witch who is her mentor that she's running away from was her lover. I can't remember what sparked that thought, but as soon as I had it, I was like soaring. It was like after that, that's where everything stemmed from. And her story ended up going in such a strange way because I one of the things that I'm doing with these characters where I like explore the mundanity of love and its viciousness is I don't know what they want to happen or where it ends. And I was constantly surprised both by the things that happened that from people who didn't know what her background was, just circling around it like they knew and were trying to stab me through the chest. And then what they would do that would provoke specific reactions from Alex that turned her to where she ended up. And I thought she was a very fascinating study and ended up being one on grief and love instead of just a study on like resistance.
Was there a moment in play, whether that was from the sort of session zeros or any moment within the season, that you, Dan, and Alex were kind of surprised by the actions you took in response to it? Not just sort of the surprise of love and its sort of mundane horror, but how you responded to it.
I think, and I will probably like come back to this over and over again, but the arc with September was really one of the ones that like dialed into everything that was like a dark mirror to Alex or rather a light mirror, where September was doing all of this good for love and evil for love, right? She made the deal with compulsion. And when Alex saw that, like it hit something in her, so that when she, pulled compulsion from her own tattoo and then did the same for September, and September lost her memory of the person she loved at that exact moment. I remember this very specifically. As soon as you took the memory of Samira away from her, at the exact same moment, Alex and I both went, you're giving that back. You are giving that back. Because to Alex, that is what's the term? Like, that is unforgivable. That was the moment where she's like, I will never trust this creature. I will destroy this creature with everything that I can, because to take that love from another person was so offensive to her. And that was a moment where I got to play it, because as well, I was in the same lockstep, because I was like, this is the villain. They're creating the evil. Alex didn't care about the evil. Alix cared about that action, but the two of us were both in agreement on that action right there.
I thank you for transitioning us so well to this sort of next question. I think will really set up a lot of maybe some of the questions that we're going to be answering, and maybe some of the other things. I'm going to pass it over to you in just a moment, Ash. But I would really love to know what moments in the season you keep coming back to that really tell the queer story, or at least tell a queer story that you resonate with in a very profound way.
Yeah, I'd like to start by saying that making queeRPG in general has been so open to queer stories that it almost didn't even hit this time around, like making a queer story. But I think what is important as people who made this show and as people watching it is we weren't always fully connected to, but this took place in the 1970s. Like, in general, and Roseville Beach is an enigma, and that's the point of the game. But in general, queer people were not allowed. And my little tiny nod in this last episode to that, by making my brother a bit homophobic, was on purpose to just accentuate the fact that outsiders to this place are not necessarily fully cool with the place. And I think actually this is the first time, and sorry, we're now, I'm shifting from that train of thought, but I don't think that I have ever personally identified as a butch lesbian, but I think playing one fully shifted how I view my own queerness and my own gender identity. Maybe not in like a grandiose, I'm gonna like come out again sort of way, but just shifts my own thinking of how I view myself. Which I think in any sort of storytelling is maybe the most important part.
I'd love to tag in on the first part of what you were saying, Kenzie, because there was something in a little bit that I chose not to pursue in that regard, because like I, again, recognizing what the era actually was, there was a point in time where I considered bringing up that, like, in part of the backstory that I understood for Alix was that the reason that she was sort of able or willing to leave behind her old life to go and be this witch's apprentice, and in the first place, and what it was that was so that really like drew the power of them together in their initial phases, was that like she was lesbian, and she was not necessarily accepted by her parents or wherever she came from, and that it was like she was outcast in already. And so the thought of being alone again was one of the reasons that it was like, so it was one of the reasons she was so shut off when she first came to Roseville Beach. But the more I ended up not going with that route. I don't know if I still consider it in the subtext of her at all. It's just one of those things where I was like, exactly like you were saying, like this story between us was so implicitly queer just in its nature, that I didn't necessarily want to distract from the tragedies that and horrors that we were facing of the fantastical realm with the ones of the real world, as like a either metaphorically or really, because I wanted the story to be about those issues and not ones that we weren't able to fight as these characters.
+1 to everything these two brilliant minds have just said. It was the same thing I do want to plus one to Kenzie here, especially with regard to like the expansion of the experience of the wonderful experience about being queer. I feel as part of the community is how we can contain continuously multitudes of whatever feels good and right for us at whichever time feels good and right for us. And Arian is no different in that regard. I would not, in any regard of regard, consider myself a twink or subscribe necessarily to that sort of like all the labels and all that we have in the queer community, right? But like playing Arian is deeply like healing and wonderful for me because as a trans man, one of the big things that I'm constantly like griping with is like the meaning and the scope of masculinity and what that means and what other people perceive as masculinity and how the lenses overlap or what schism might make it incomprehensible to one another, right? And playing a Rian who is a siren who is a stranger to Roseville Beach, who is extremely flamboyant, extremely effeminate, and is just like you know a queer stereotype in some regards. But for me, he contains like lots of multitudes of different perspectives and lenses of masculinity, which is not something I get to necessarily explore all the time, but it's a fun thing to be able to explore within a queer context and could only, I think, be really done justice within a story that is unapologetically queer and is viewed and consumed within a queer lens. I think that's the only way to consume the story, right? Um, and being able to have that exploration of masculinity has been really really fun for me, very very healing in embracing the softer effeminate, the flamboyant, as well as the like protectiveness and the wildness and the monstrosity of it all has been deeply healing. And I also want to plus one to the idea that like I'm really glad that we put a big note on this, a big flashing note on this in the finale, for Arian's finale, because it is the real world context. I think is really really important. This is set in the 70s, and I love that moment between Arian and Oliver, where Oliver very explicitly points out that Arian speaks a lot about the things that are different about the two of them, um, but that is something that a lot of folks in Roseville Beach understand. And I loved that touch. So big star to Alex there, but like I love that touch so much because it's true. And Arian's story kind of is almost like a meta narrative of someone who is inexperienced, who's still trying to understand what it is they feel, why they feel it, um, how they feel about the fact that they are feeling these feelings, and is able to find that community and that safety and that space to be able to find out who he really is and to live his truth and to and that's how I like to end the finale with like that open question of like I didn't want to say explicitly, oh yeah, Arian and Oliver end up together and it's daisies and roses and whatever. It very well might be, but I wanted to leave it open because I think the opportunity to explore and the opportunity to have that journey in of itself is the most important. It's being able to actually have those answers for themselves and to ask it every single day. And that's something you can do with queer storytelling, folks. It's awesome. Don't you just love it?
Yeah, and I just want to touch on something that kind of all three of you talked about. Roseville Beach is such a unique setting because it is unlike any other location, truly. Even, if we take our present day, it is a place of queer normativity, right? That is the expectation. You don't the stories of Roseville Beach are often not about fighting for your place to exist, often not about needing to overcome some greater sort of force oppressing you. They tend to become more personal and we get to see inside of people's lives, right? Past what most people see and hear, and into what is hidden, what is often something that is struggled with alone. And that is why, among a lot of reasons, that is why Compulsion was our primary antagonist for the show, is because I really wanted to explore what an island, what a community of such an accepting place, what do we struggle with if we have all these sort of needs met, and we talked about this in depth when it happened and after it happened, and we'll continue to talk about it today, I'm sure. When we had September step into the ley line and take on this new form, we had the opportunity to listen to Candace talk about how that is a personification of an older generation of queer people making the world better for the next one when they never get to see it. And that to me is the most special piece of storytelling in general, but also queer storytelling I got to experience in this season. And it will stay with me, I think, forever.
I'm tearing up again just thinking about it.
Yeah, that was a. You go ahead, Dan.
No,
I have a
please.
whole
I
thing.
think we're about to say the same thing. Go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, like, I have a whole a story about a guy. So go ahead.
Okay. I mean,
I think
I
we
was
just
wrong,
possessed
excuse me.
Kenzie there for a second.
yeah, that's it reached
No,
through the board.
No, I'm a bartender. I've got stories about guys.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I just like that. Like, I think I don't know about you. You asked us, like, what is the moment that'll stick with you? And I feel, did we all say that moment? Like, I want to check. Did we all say that in some way, shape, or form?
I'm pretty sure that was it.
Because that was also a turning point for the story as well. Like, the second that happened, like, apart from the way that it changed all of our characters in various ways, like, that was so defining for us as players that altered, I think, how we were looking at Endgame, because then it became apparent, it's like, oh, there's something more than us. It is us, but it is always more than just us.
I think the whole Lou Annie situation only happened because of what September Brown did. It literally would not have happened otherwise.
I want to hear from Ariane and Val's perspective, because you weren't there for September Brown's big thing. So like, this is two separate questions. Val, how have you been like absorbing it, and then how does Ariane feel hearing about this event secondhand?
The way that Val, I need to give you all context. I had a thing and an appointment I had to go to immediately afterwards. So I had to hear all of this happening while I was in my commute, and I just saw the Discord popping off, and I'm like, no, what? I was like, what? What's happening?
There is no way Candace brings an energy that is unable to be contained.
It's true. That's deeply true, and I knew Candace was about to rock our worlds. I'm just upset that I missed the rocking. I'm certain that it was brilliant and wonderful because I know Candace's work, but just seeing everyone's reactions like got me in a way of like, this is deeply significant. And as soon as I'm like in preparation for our next episode, as soon as I was like briefed on what had occurred, thanks to Alex and Ash in the background, I was able to kind of like internalize that moment in a way that is adjacent, I think, to everyone else who was able to be there. I kind of saw it as this brilliant, wonderful moment of storytelling, and I wanted to weave that in with Arian as much as possible, because I want to. This is such a pivotal and incredible moment in the storyline that, as everyone has said, undoubtedly impacts everyone. Even if Arian in fiction wasn't there, the ripples of it have to rhyme and have to impact the rest of the storytelling, and that's what I was trying to do in the prep for Arian and lead up to that. So with like Arian, I think the way I've thought about it in fiction is that I think Arian as an and great ancient entity from the depths is like acutely attuned, I think, to when there are changes to Roseville Beach. And I think there is a moment where Arian was like, things have changed, but I'm currently trapped and I cannot like compute that change in a more conscious way. But the way that Arian processed that was actually in that interaction with Oliver and being caged and feeling the tension with Hallie, is that ultimately that choice he has to make, right? Of choosing love, even if he didn't necessarily consciously know that that was what he was choosing, but that was clearly what was fueling his actions. And I think anyone in the audience who like listens to that episode will understand that everything that's happening in that moment onward, that's fueling Arian, it was love. It was love that he felt for Oliver, yes, but it was also the love and trust that he had in Alex and Lou, in knowing that they will come for him, that he just needs to buy them enough time, but he knows and loves them enough to believe that they will come back for him. And that was my way of having like that be true in fiction and continuing September Brown's legacy in our story, but also to have a Rian be able to feel that moment in some way and to make it real in that big and pivotal scene, just like everyone else was able to.
I'm gonna pass it over to you, Ash. Any big things you want to ask? And then at the end, I want to make sure we know at the end. You know, I love my favorite moments. I got a little rapid fire favorite things for the entire season. So, as we're answering these questions, start thinking about some favorite things.
I would, right before Ash you go, tell my little story about this guy that I know.
The guy. How
The
could I
guy.
forget?
And the reason I want to tell this story is because I think it's he was a regular at a bar I used to work at. His name is Terry. I can put him on blast. He doesn't care. He what I oh man, he was such a great person because I learned so much about queerness before I was born from this man. And I learned a lot about different kink communities through this man. And the most heartbreaking thing he ever said to me was that he went to New York Pride and left because he was shamed for wearing his full leathers because he's a leather man. And I think what's super important about this game and what I didn't want to perpetuate during it was alienation of queer people. And I hope that by the end of it, that is the opposite of what we perpetuated. But I just would like to take this moment to call out the fact that there is still a lot of space between the old queer community and the modern queer community. And those people are the only reason that we exist right now. So shaming them out of being at Pride is crazy. And he has the stories that I've learned from him are so cool and so crazy and just so full of like this rebellious spirit that we haven't had to have until I think the last 3 or 5 years, you know? And it's something that we've lost. And that is a generation that fought and won rights for us. And I think just making sure that you don't forget your elders, and that the work that they did so honestly so close in history ago is pertainable now will change your life. And yeah, that's all. It's a little PSA, but I just couldn't go without saying it because I think it's important.
There's a reason why it was very important to me that in the finale for the conflict, Roseville Beach all came back together. I mean, that's why we had guest appearances of all of our guest stars, because it was very important to me as a storyteller to say, hey, we're only strong, but we're only strong against forces that seem impossible when we are all on the same side, when we're all working together. And that I hope is the message that I, as a GM, as a narrator, have left through this story.
Yeah. Okay, Ash, take it away. Sorry, I just needed
No,
to
that
get
was
that
beautiful.
out.
Thank you. If anyone ever gets a chance to go by Stonewall on like a Tuesday at like 3 p.m., Tree, he's a 86-year-old bartender, and he was there when the Stonewall riots happened. He's got amazing stories. I'm Facebook friends with him. He's a phenomenal person. I love this man so much. Genuinely, like, just to echo what Kenzie said, get to know your queer elders. Get to like hear their stories. Don't let our history be, lost to time. It's up to us now to really like be the keepers of this heart that we have together in this community. And so then before I start crying, the first question from the chat is, Val, so is there like one siren at a time? Like when you handed your boon off to the next siren, like how's that working? What's going on there?
Oh, is this about the boon? That boon is for not just for sirens, but for like any creatures of the deep that may find themselves called to a greater world that they would like to know more about. I think Arian sent that boon off as this sort of like, yes, it was a passing of the torch for the scenes, but it was also a way for him to keep his story alive and acknowledging that he will not be the last entity from the deep that will be fascinated by humanity. That is something that will likely happen again. So, whether this boon gets picked up by one siren, multiple sirens, multiple creatures of the deep that decide to manifest into one eldritch entity and haunt a nearby bank, who's to say? Really?
Who knows? I miss Manny War already.
Listen. I simply cannot get another ocean landlord.
Best fucking throwaway.
We could have a bunch of krill in a trench coat show up to Roseville Beach.
I guess I have a bit of a follow-up question to this.
Yeah.
And that is that sorry. Because I'm just like thinking out what you just said, and it just like this could be a more of a mechanics versus like actual fantasy debate, but if Ariane thinks that like a siren has to come up and take a place of somebody and like do this certain magic that a siren does that mean that when Ariane stepped away from that, like they became a completely new entity?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That was the
Cool.
That was the implication that I wanted to set with, which is why like I wanted to have that scene with like Calypso before our finale.
Okay, to be clear, Calypso, or someone named after Calypso?
Yes.
You can't.
No. Literally.
Okay.
Don't even talk about it. We don't even have to question it. We know it's Calypso.
It's like 100% real ass
Calypso.
Real ass Calypso.
I'm just imagining
Arian
Arian listening to the epic musical, like in the year of our Lord 2025, when he and Oliver are like old and retired, and he's like, "Wait a second, Mom never told me this part of it."
Did you not see? Did you? Did you not see the Epic the Musical
No, I
reference
did.
made in the
You
chat?
made it before
Because
I
me
did.
and
I
Dan
was gonna
were
make
on
it. I
it.
was like, oh, they already did it. It's fine. Ugh.
Just Arian's gonna like call up. It's like, mother, you were so
I was like, Mom,
problematic.
this is not what I'm just imagining Arian, like, when people are like, hey, so have you read that? You're like, yo, my mom told me all about it. I don't need to, like, read the Odyssey. And then he listens to the musical. He's like, Mom? Picks up the shell phone. Mom, what the fuck did you do?
Mother.
Yeah, also actually
I wanted to
crazy
leave
that you named your lover after the man that your mom
Mommy
loved.
issues, daddy issues, mommy
Actually
issues.
crazy.
Daddy issues.
So okay, let's get into all of that. Let's get into all of that. So this is my long con. So the reason, so y'all were there when I picked the name Odysseus. That was just like, okay, his name will be Odysseus. So I was like, okay, I want to work back. Now that I've chosen the name Odysseus, I'm gonna work backward now to figure out why that name was chosen. And every other instance of like sirens with Odysseus has been like, dang, maybe I should not use that because he did just straight up murder a bunch of you. So maybe not that. But I think, and that's where the Calypso stepped in, because I had written pretty early on that at the very least, Arian's mother's a sea witch. And I looked through Greek mythology to see who were prominent sea witches. And of all there were like 3 real candidates. And between the 3 of them, Calypso made the most sense. Especially with the fact that Arian has always I feel like a siren who is like, wow, the human world needed to have enough context about like humanity in order to feel that way. And I think having Calypso be his mother made the most sense in that regard. And and the reason why that whole Odysseus connection happened was I believe, and I was trying to communicate this in the finale, and I believe that Arian doesn't actually know the full story about Odysseus. I think he knows the Greek myth, he knows the heroism and the harrowing journey, but I don't think because here's the thing with like the Odyssey and also Epic's retelling of the Odyssey, right, is that there are different versions of the relationship between Odysseus and Calypso. That is something that is complicated, has very many different versions. And because of that, acknowledging all the different versions, I did not want to subscribe to just one and make it such that Arian doesn't know, but all he knows is that regardless, whenever he's heard that name, he's heard Calypso only say it in a fond way. And that was kind of like, oh, maybe that's what I'm feeling towards this mortal man, is a similar fondness. And if I were to, I want to be able to say his name the same way my mother would say someone that they loved, right? Because that's essentially what he was getting at with the whole Calypso thing. I saw everyone's faces the second I did the Calypso reveal, and I was like, oh, wow, this was not.
Well, I know. Okay, so it went. Oh, cool, Calypso. Oh shit, he's talking to Calypso.
Mommy?
Okay.
Yeah, but like
I was not prepared to be Calypso.
Ash, yeah,
And
Ash,
you did it so
I'm
well.
gonna try to turn you down a little bit. Your microphone was so loud right then. I'm gonna turn you down a little bit.
That it just can't contain it. Just too gay for Calypso.
Just simply was so loud.
I was going to say that you did such a brilliant thing with Calypso, and to answer Ash's question and Kenzie's question is that, yes, farewell to his mother was also a acknowledgement that from that point onward, he is something different now. He's a completely different beast, and by imparting that boon away, it's like one more of like that mythological aspect of himself that's leaving him, and he's turning to something different. So yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned in there that you weren't sure what the ramifications of you being a siren and naming your love Odysseus was going to have. And when we were doing character creation, I very intentionally asked you if you wanted to follow that story, or at least like a similar path, or at least a similar Greek tragedy. And you had told me, yes, I want to have something terrible. I want to have a Greek tragedy. And so for you, Val, that is the entire reason why uh, Hallie's coven was killed, right? That's the whole reason that the revenge of sort of the sea was coming up, is because it's following right along that line. And even though it's not a parallel exactly, you manifested.
And I love that you made that choice, because I took it also as like another oceanic reckoning for Arian, right? Because for me, that's like there are several nails in the coffin that all not necessarily estranged him from the sea, but were creating that schism between himself and the sea, because he knows and he grieves. And as I was hoping to communicate that especially in the way he treated Hallie, he's never been the one to immediately violently go after Hallie, because there is that level of guilt and grief that he feels, and empathy he feels for a sister, right? Another one just like him. But he has made this choice, and he's bound himself to this mortal man, who he will outlive, and to these friends who he will also outlive. And that is a schism he has to reckon with, and that comes with the big choice of, like, he can't participate in this vengeance. He is othered by it, even though he's impacted by it in on several fronts, and he has to live with those choices, because Hallie is not necessarily wrong for feeling the feelings that she did. She had her coven brutally taken away from her. She's right to feel that amount of anger, right? And really what Arian was doing in that moment was safeguarding those he finds dear, and so was Hallie. And that was I think one of the major schisms in his character in that moment, in his relationship to being a siren.
I have a question for Dan. So will Alex ever find community in a coven, or is she a solo witch forever?
Oh God, that's I don't know the answer to that. I really don't know the answer to that, because initially, like, I coded her avoidance of covens as her, like, trying to avoid Estelle specifically, and any chance of Estelle finding her. Um and that self-isolation, like, kind of built upon itself. And then I think part of, like, the issue coming out of that is, like, I think there's a responsibility that she feels for the loss of the coven of Roseville Beach, because she was the one who made the first spell to undo the binding on the ley line. Like, that was her. And because she did that, like, there's a sense of, I won't say guilt. There is like a piece of guilt, but it's not significant enough to, like, color her actions. It's that it is her responsibility. And I don't know that she has the capability to be in a coven. That's not who she is as a person. And I think part of, like, what I was discovering as I was having her write in the grimoire is that I think it's so personal to her that it's going to be something that she passes down solo if she ever is able to. Yeah, I think that's how I want to phrase that. Like, I don't know if I don't think she's going to go seeking someone to like succeed her. That's not who she is either. I think if there is something that presents itself to her, and a way that, like, someone sets themselves apart, or sets themselves, or approaches her, then maybe she will consider it. But she's never going to, like, I don't think she's going to found a coven. I considered that path for her, but I couldn't justify it.
That's such a great take for Alex, because that is ultimately how Alex found magic, right? I see a lot of I see Alex taking on somebody who is only really taking on somebody who is extremely thirsty to go out of their way to find it, and not just happens into it.
Alex, I have a question for you, actually. So what has been either the biggest change from when you first started prepping for this season, or if you had any specific plans or expectations that then got subverted wonderfully, because the story is just perfect the way everyone handled it. But I wanted to see if there was anything in particular that you were like, oh no, we're doing a full 180 on this and pursuing this other sort of line.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the show. So a couple things here, right? As a GM, or I like to use the word narrator because I think that's a little bit more accurate to how I GM. As a narrator, I really I like to flow with community storytelling, right? It's ultimately not my story, it is everyone's story, and I'm helping guide it to where it wants to go. And so it's never something that like surprises me when a turn gets taken. And this particular season, I knew half of the show because I had written it with each guest star, right? Something that did surprise me, and I'll talk about a couple points. Something that surprised me right away is how the setup for the guest stars was done in such a way that had our guest stars almost as guest GMs. They came into the situation and they knew what was happening and they presented it to you, and it was this beautiful, honestly, I think one of my most successful, like, let me set up a thing and have just the story go, because that's what happened. And it happened with every guest star, and it was very fulfilling every time it did. So that was something that was very surprising and fulfilling. And then as far as big story things, I, of course, could never predict the end of the middle of the end of September Brown. I could never predict that. That changed the entire story. 100%. It just did. And that moment was, oh, every story, every guest star, every session, every moment from here on out has to show that Roseville Beach triumphs over this terrible thing, and the way they do that is with love. And it's love. I think a lot of people are going to hear that and assume I mean romantic love, but it can mean a lot. It means romantic love for um uh Granny and Nana, and it means, or like unfulfilled love after a long time, right? It means love for community for Lou. It means trust in people that we love for Alex. It has a lot of context, and that that was something that really altered the way that we had to go forward. And then Hallie. I didn't know Hallie was going to be so important. I always leave myself about at the halfway point, a moment to check in with each actor, which I did, right, and kind of know where we want to go. But I also had to check in with myself and go, okay, what needs to finish being told?
I love
What
this
is
NPC.
something that is so important?
Love her. I
she's
want her
a
to destroy
bitch,
my
and
And
life.
What do
Hallie
I
was
do with
it.
her? I love
She's
her. What do I
amazing.
do with her?
What do I do?
Exactly. And yeah, so Hallie. That's it, Hallie.
I think that I want to just do a little piggyback off here, in which we're talking about September Browns and love and how we all like took that on for the latter half of the season. And I think one of the biggest notes here is that for our listeners, I don't think that's going to be surprising. For new listeners, maybe it will be. But we have, despite the previous seasons having a lot of romance in them, um, the literal end all be all was never about that. It was always about community and about found family and about that type of love. And I think this just, like, I don't think you have to worry about it at all. I think it simply flows in with the rest of it. And we managed to do that in a way that is really cool because, again, I think this finale, Val was like, I like Ariane wants to come back, but like, what love did he find? And it was like, obviously Lou and Alex, like, like obviously, you know what I mean? Like, that's
He
what
broke
that
the
was.
spell.
Yeah.
He broke the spell as soon as it was cast because this is the thing I've been obsessed about since that moment. As soon as I made that deal with Hallie, I was like, this spell is broken immediately. Like this bargain is broken immediately upon being struck because he is literally doing this because he loves Alex and Lou so much that he believes they'll come back for him.
My heart.
Right?
Yeah. So like it just like that, I think the understanding that like and I'm not saying that like all love can't be this way, but I think that there are so many different dimensions to queer love specifically that are very much highlighted in this season.
I want to continue piggybacking off of that one because it's a really great like. I was on a panel at PAX Unplugged that was about like queerness and Asian storytelling at a table, and we got to talking about like horrific creatures because we had Fabs and Josephine of Bad House on the panel, who I both love and adore very much, and Joe said something that I keep coming back to. And I told her after the panel, it's like, this will stick with me for a very long time, but it's this concept of an alterous relationship. It is one that is neither romantic nor platonic, and yet it is somewhere in between. And it is about this intense devotion. And that can be something that is romantic, and that can be something that is platonic, and it can be neither, and it can be both. But alterous relationships fit into the spectrum of queer media quite frequently, and even in non-queer media. And those are the places where, you know, queer people tend to look and go, that's gay, isn't it? Right? Because it exists, because it's alterous. It violates the rigid boundaries that are set upon types of relationships between people, which is, I mean, don't make me get on my soapbox. It's an inherently like fascistic concept, right? You're trying to prescribe relationship rules and boundaries onto other people's relationships. And alterous relationships, by definition, are queer, both in the sense that they can be gay, but also they are ones that exist outside this boundary and violate that boundary in a way that is rebellious. And that is something else that comes at the heart of queer media. So like, yeah, that's something that I agree. Like that all of this skated that line like very well. And that's the kind of stories that I think are very interesting to tell.
Yeah, and I mean it really hits it on the nose with our final scene of because Lou, oh my gosh, Kenzie.
The lines are blurring.
Where does
Kenzie.
Lou and Kenzie begin?
I am Lou now.
You mentioned, and this is maybe a surprise to me too. You mentioned that the expectation that people might have coming in is that it's going to be about love and romantic love, and not about sort of found family. Which I mean, yeah, I understand that for sure, and I think that we even probably presented that in the beginning as sort of like a false sort of start, right? And we got to the end of those stories, but what we ended on was not that. You know, we got there because of our found family, and we ended on this beautiful scene of the three of you fighting over board games in a very honest, loving way. And so it really is a through line that the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all of our guest stars and us have really successfully done, and I'm really proud of that.
Alex, I have further like little questions and things, but if you have any other questions on your end too, I want to pass the ball back at you.
No, a little break from some of the deep, serious questions, and do just some fun favorite things. So normally I would ask, right, our favorite moments, but that's insane to do for an entire season. And so I've broken them down into some categories, and we don't have to take a crazy amount of time to do this. We can go nice and fast, like you're driving a stolen car with these favorite things. And the first one you actually prepared, which we might have touched on already. What is the moment you're going to keep coming back to as a person? Not as a character, but as a human being when you think about this story.
Yeah, I'm gonna go right now because I know already, and it is literally the moment that Candace did the switcheroo on all of us and was like, "Oh, I'm sacrificing myself." But the reason that I keep coming back to that moment is because it literally changed the direction that Lou was going in entirely. And so there was at that moment in time, at the end of this summer, Lou was going to leave Roseville Beach.
Oh.
And it wasn't like a mean thing. It was just simply, "Oh, I've outlived my time here. It's time to go somewhere else," sort of vibe. And as soon as Candace did that, I went, "Well, fuck me. I'm here forever."
I know. Kenzie's like midpoint check-in was like, "Oh, I might be leaving, but actually, get back to me on that."
Yeah, it was kind of crazy. It was like, well, I think Lou's thinking about like Roseville Beach being a crutch, yada yada yada, and then like 2 weeks later, I was like, no, she's staying. So, I do think that the September Brown moment, and maybe it will be the same for everybody, but her like giving their life for Roseville Beach was just like a completely switcheroo moment in Lou's life and completely changed the trajectory of where that story was headed.
Just to be okay, so I was normally going to say that moment because very similarly, like Alex, I'm not saying she stopped running, but it changed the way that she looked at why she was running quite a bit. But I'm gonna switch it up a little bit just so we don't get full repetition. Is that I'm gonna keep coming back to the Ari and Alex fight because that was cooking for like a full like episode and a half. And I was like, an opportunity did not present itself to actually like engage in it for a little bit. But the whole time, like Alex couldn't stop thinking about it because that was another thing that was like, especially after September, Arian doing that was kind of offensive to her. And in a way that like he couldn't possibly understand. There was no way that he could understand it. But that's what infuriated Alex about it all the more. Is that like, why do you get to make that decision? And I made it and I did it for the right reasons. And all I've had for it is suffering. Like it was like it was building for just long enough. And so like Val and I were like talking beforehand about like how we were gonna knock it down. And I was just like, I'm so ready for this. I'm waiting for this.
I love that moment so much, that argument, because they're both right in different ways. And like Alex didn't know the reasons why Urian did what he did because he couldn't articulate it either, right? Like the reason why he made that choice is because he loved the both of you and he trusted the both of you all to be able to fix things. We just needed time. But in to avoid repetition, one of my favorite moments of this whole show is the Alex and Arian grieving moment, like that little mourning section, because I think that was a very, very nice exploration about everything. A lot of the big moments that we've had, the big like wins and losses, and the culmination of like grief and othering and running away, and it was perfectly mirroring and parallel to that argument that we had, that we neatly tied into a bow. It's great. We did good. We did real good in that scene.
We did good. I think we did real good with that.
We did real good, yeah.
I am so I didn't know how we were gonna get out of that, and then you said the fucking lion thing, and I said the first thing that came into my head, which was how the fuck would Arian know about lions?
Was like, Are you from the ocean?
Yeah, I couldn't not think that, and I just like did it. But that was also like Alex would notice, and that was also Alex's breaking point because she was like literally teetering on the edge the whole fucking time.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that was excellent. That's excellent. This is also a question for you and myself too, Ash. I do want to go, and I don't have any repetition here because my moment I'm always going to return to is when Lou put out the shield and it cast in a protection charm for the entire village through their fierce devotion to the people they love.
Lou
I will
Paladin
come
Core.
back to that moment when I tell the story. When I tell like stories from Roseville Beach, it'll be that and September Brown.
So good, so good.
I think what's actually so funny about that moment is when you were like, "What do you mean that you're not doing magic?"
Is that, well, it's the magic, obviously.
Because when I was thinking about it, I was like, well, Luke calls so that's the magic. And then what happens is that she puts it in the ground thinking this thing and thinking it's not going to happen. And then you were like, what do you mean you're not doing magic? And I was like, okay, then I guess I am.
It's not magic though, but it's not magic though.
No, I wasn't gonna let you get away with that.
No, but good on you. Yeah, you shouldn't have. But Lou was just simply not thinking about that. So in that moment when you said, "What? Roll for magic?" I went, "What?" I was like, "That's not magic. That's just Lou."
Can I also tell you like how fucking terrified I was that you were about to like let Lou die
Oh my God.
to save the whole fucking beach?
Same.
Because then I was like, okay, number one, Alex will never recover. And number two, like, I mean, she's about to do some fucked magic to like get you back if you
we'll
die.
have to go
like,
after
I was like
wouldn't
going through
have-
contingencies instantly.
That
I was
wouldn't
like, this
have happened
can't.
at the beach, but that was a thought that I had with her when she grabbed hold of the ley lines. That was
my
the moment
God.
where I was like, oh, if she dies, if Alex is like, this is too much, then that's what it is. But that was not the moment at the beach.
Where was Lou's sense of self-preservation this whole time? And how the fuck did she get through this without one? Like,
Hi,
That's
it's
a great
Alex.
okay, yes, you know what?
It's
yeah.
Alex.
Alex
Yeah.
is truly the thing,
Oh,
yeah.
no, we lost Val.
rip me.
Val, my darling.
No.
And then Ash.
But Ash, yeah, you had a
No,
moment.
let me
Yeah, so
back
I-
in. Help, I'm being censored.
So I am such a big sucker for found family. It is one of my favorite tropes in everything, and it hits especially hard in queer media for me personally. And in this, everything leading, and this whole season, I felt like led up to the moment where Lou asked if Arian and Alex were going to stay. And just that moment when Lou realized it was never even a question in these two people's minds that they were going to stay with her and that they are now a family. Hey guys, hey, you three motherfuckers sitting there grinning ear to ear, you two, Alex, you're not innocent. I was sobbing. It was rough.
They could have said no. I could have said that. They could have said, I'm
Why would
going.
they
gonna go?
I don't know.
But I love that, and I'll also say, as like a sort of like a little cheeky moment for me is I love when there are like leitmotifs, like a little something that like is at the very first episode and in the very last episode, and I loved the theme of a fucked up dog throughout. I say that as I drink from my uranium glass cup. It's just so. It's
Ash,
so good.
Ash herself is a
All
fucked
the
up
way.
dog.
I felt
Why
seen.
you like this?
That's a great
Ash?
question. Do you want chronological, alphabetical reasons? Like, what are we?
Well, here's the thing. I was actually so concerned as Kenzie about the fucked up dogs because all of a sudden Auntie was leaving, and I was like,
What?
well, who's caring for who's
Yeah,
doing the
that's my
rescue?
question.
Because my assumption was that if Auntie was leaving, Grandma Rose is leaving with her. So I was like,
That's why I was like, we'll sort this later. Like, we'll figure
then I
this
was like,
shit out.
Lou will
Alex
fix
is not
it.
going to
Yeah.
take on more than she's taken on already.
That was something I came to in the moment. I'm like, oh, this is right. It's time for her to move away from Roseville Beach, because it doesn't serve her anymore. No idea where their story goes. I think their story is like chasing FBI agents and
We're about to
saving
write
little
a
aliens.
audio drama
Yeah.
spinoff of this about Auntie
Yeah.
and Grandma Rose.
That's the next thing for queeRPG. Thank you so much, everyone. That's what this was all about.
Oh my god.
So I do have another favorite thing here, and this one is a little bit different. What was your favorite mystery?
I really liked the Acticus episode. That was
Yeah,
really fun.
I agree 100%.
To be
I loved it,
contrarian-
especially. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, you finish.
No, I was gonna say it's like thank you for giving for like co-making that wonderful episode. Because I just wanted an opportunity to finally ask if someone was handsome, and I'm so happy that it was gift wrapped to me in that one episode. I was like, yes, I can ask it. The question.
We have a theme in
Every
this
single
podcast
season, there's someone.
of
There's one.
usually
always
women, but it's is she
Yeah.
hot? Is she hot?
Every single.
Every time I say a single NPC, so you know what? Good for you.
Thank you for picking up that mantle for this season.
Is he handsome?
It happened
Good for you.
You are welcome.
one time in the whole season,
There's
just
only-
once.
I know, which is so good. Honestly, so refreshing.
Thank you all for having the respect for not asking if my ex-wife was hot. Like an hour before she
I
died.
was- yeah.
thinking she's a villain.
I was ready.
I'm never
I was
gonna ask
ready to
that
beat her
question.
ass, and then I was like, "Oh no, that's just sad."
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Fuck.
I think that Atticus was a great episode, and like 100%. I think specifically though, to not piggyback off that is the moment when Kai came in and described the turning a man into a tree.
Mm.
And then and then like literally 5 minutes later, Roseville Beach was being overrun by trees. Like that whole sort of like block of time, I think for me was it.
That's a good mystery.
That was a phenomenal one. And also we haven't mentioned a lot of his work so far in this post, but like Kai coming in and being so willing like to push our fucking buttons.
Oh, yeah.
I like they came in and
Honestly-
provoked the shit out of Alex, and I immediately told him afterwards. I was like, "This was so much fun. Do this."
I
We
again."
should give a shout out just to all of our guest stars who were incredible. Truly like left a lasting impression on how the story of this season developed. And that's so fun and so cool. But
It's true.
yeah, no, speaking of like the latest, yeah. Kai really
I should
came
have
in and was
warned
like,
you all more.
in
I did you
guns
all a
a-blazing.
disservice.
yeah.
Can I tell you? Like, I saw his name on the guest list at the beginning,
Yeah.
and I immediately got terrified. And then
I told him about my siren very briefly. It's like I'm going to wreck that twig, and I was like, okay.
Can I also just like confide in you all one of my deepest fears that I'm kind of glad did
Yeah.
not come to fruition because I would have
Sure,
passed
please.
away. So the name Estelle came from a fantasy name generator because this entire season is sponsored by Fantasy Name Generator.
Thank you, Fantasy Name
Um,
Generator.
So,
Shout out.
all the way back to session 0, baby.
Appreciate all the hard work.
There's
Thank
a
you.
callback. And I pulled that name, and like a week or so later, I was thinking about it, and I was like scrolling through, and I saw like that's when Kai followed me, and I saw Kai's username, and my brain did stupid word association, and I was like, I swear to God, if this motherfucker plays my ex-wife, I will die. I will simply die. I will never recover as a human being. I will
For the folks
retire.
at home, what's his handle?
I was Estelle of
Estelle
Inladris.
of-
Yeah.
I like my brain put that and I was like, no, don't think about that, Dan. Don't think about that, Dan, because you'll like be so terrified when it does. Like if it does, like you'll just lose your shit. And I was like, okay, no, it's not real. It's not real. The Kai played
Kai
ex-wife
is your wife, can't hurt
NPC is
you.
never gonna
It's
happen.
Not real.
It's not
But
real.
Kai
Can't
Stell
hurt
isn't
you.
real. It can't hurt me.
Kai still isn't real. Kai still hurt me in other ways. It's fine.
Sure. Yeah, but not in that way.
Not in that way.
Did you have a favorite mystery, Dan?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with the Atticus one. Like that one, the Burnt Opera House was one of the ones where I was like, shit was like very real in a very different way. And it was also like, we established really early on that magic was very powerful. Like magic rolls in this game are stupid powerful. And frankly, Alex could not do much there. And that was so thrilling. Like that was so deeply thrilling where I was like, oh, panic is setting in because magic no work. Oh, no.
Lou was just, broke her or dislocated her arm and fell
Hanging off like
of
cliffhanger.
a rafter 100 feet
Yeah.
down. So, like.
Oh yeah, I just had I had a great transition into another favorite thing, and then we'll push back to you, Ash. Pass it back to you, not push it back to you. Pass it back to you. You talk about magic rolls. What were some of our favorite mechanics from the actual game?
Trouble die.
You
Start.
motherfuckers.
You all know what it is.
Trouble die. Yeah.
I love that trouble die. I
Hey.
wanted you to roll trouble die on every single
that-
roll.
Hey,
Fucking Trouble Die changed everything.
hey guys, why did you start out at a 10 with that? From the first fucking episode.
I tried
Stressing
not to
me
do it
out.
as much
Hold,
as I could.
hold. Let's not. Hold on. Let's not place the blame
blame
on
us.
all of us. Let's not place the blame on all of us right out the bat. Who would like to raise their hand and remember who fucking started this one off? Who railed the first Trouble Die in the first episode? Who started that one?
Wait, was it me?
It was you. Like
Yes!
right out the gate. You're like, oh,
Literally just would like, what if I do it?
You're like, oh, I love dice.
I forgot it was me.
I love dice. Let me roll another one.
And the great thing about this is you go, oh, these are all pretty good rolls. This one's just fine. I'll roll a trouble die.
Crazy!
I
instantaneously brings Bobby. That was like that brought Bobby into the play.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
They
think
did, yeah.
I think what's interesting too about that is until like the last maybe 3 episodes, Lou rolled the worst rolls that could ever have been
little
rolled.
baby girl, I'm so sorry.
And so-
Oh, honey.
which is like honestly maybe on par. I think like I love the Roseville Beach native or whatever it is. I love having 1,000 jobs and not a single skill or magic. Like it's so fun. Like it's so fun to start out like that. And then it was so cool to see the growth in that. So I think my favorite mechanic was just like sorry, maybe that one time when I was joking and I was like, botany? Was, might have been one of my favorite moments. Because clearly Lou has the botany skill and simply could never use it. So there was like a single moment and I was like, could I do this?
Fuck.
I think that it's actually sorry, related to skills, but my actual favorite mechanic was in the level up sort of vibe that we had, the advancements that we did, in which we could share skills.
That's
I
so
actually
cool.
loved that. I thought that was
That's a good
so
one.
cool. I thought like working with these people, like gaining their skills is like such a cool thing.
I really loved like being given sort of a blank slate of the town and being able to like make it and put it together yourself because I love world building. I love character creation.
Oh yeah,
world
like our
building. I
development
know the development
sessions,
sessions were
yeah.
technically a separate game, but like the town itself, they're like choose what to do and where to put things, and so I think that's super super fun.
Yeah, I mean that's the troubles and the allies. We didn't see a lot of the initial allies we created. We did see some of them. Some of them were very featured, and some never showed up. But that's kind of how the game goes. You know, you make a bunch of things, and then you pick the things that are gonna really stick?
I do love the fact that magic like always forces you to roll for complication and the threshold is very high. Like that was very fascinating. I know like I made kind of a meme of it, but I actually did want to fail a few magic rolls and I don't think I ever rolled low enough to like
You
justify
kept licking
failing
your
it.
dice.
I licked my dice and smoking glue guns dice like spit. There's nothing I can do about that. I got to take it up with Whitney. But yeah, like I really love that part of that mechanic like always puts you at risk, and that puts you into situations where everything can go wrong. And at a certain point, it stopped being like I started pressing. I was willing to take more failures in other aspects as I rolled, where I would like roll low, but I would still have something that would clear magic. Specifically because it started making less and less sense for Alex to mess up magic in those situations. And I didn't like finding for me like finding the way to be narratively consistent with her in those roles was I think very fascinating, and it built a lot of who she became.
That is actually a great that is a great thing you're pointing out there, because I did not realize how cool this system is until I started playing it every week. Because in so many role playing games, either one of two things happen: the game tells you what success looks like, or the GM tells you what success looks like. But in Roseville Beach, you have complete control, other than rolling some dice, to say, this is what I am going to succeed at, and this is what I'm going to fail at. I don't like. I think there was one point, Kenzie, where you said, "I don't care if I succeed in this. I want a clue. I want something that's going to aid me in the future." And I think that is so neat. I actually recommend this game. As I have a few like RPGs I think that are really good for first time GMs. This is one of them.
Yeah, I think it was super fun to be able to be like, well, do I want to succeed on my goal or do I want to learn something? And sometimes learning something was more advantageous than succeeding on what I was trying to do.
This is for Alex because I could never conjure this, and I am deeply curious. Why? Because like I gave you this whole thing.
Just in
Well, first of
general,
all, how dare
why?
you?
How
No,
dare
like,
you? How could you?
Yeah, why did you tell this story at all, actually?
because when I gave you like the sort of like, oh, here's like it's an awful choice to make for
Oh,
Alex.
right.
I chose to never. I was like, Alex doesn't know the reason. I was like, Alex shouldn't know. I don't think she bothered to learn why Estelle wanted her to do that. And I'm so curious, like, what the cost was in your brain and what the necessity of it was. Like, why was she insistent that it needed to happen?
Yeah, this is a great question. So, similarly to how you had a different idea in your head of who this person was to Alex and then who they became, I went on that same journey with you because I was right on that world building, right? And so, originally, we I mean, the original concept is totally alien to what it became, because it was very heroic fantasy. It was very like very much of, this is a spirit or some sort of creature that just is not good for the world, and like I have to run away from it because it's gonna be a bad thing. And it introduced them as being your love interest, and I knew when that happened that it was going to be a through line for the entire show. I did not know what that was going to look like, but I did know it was going to be foundational to the story of Roseville Beach. Episode 3 came along when we introduced Estelle. And I still did not, I'm going to be honest, I didn't know. I knew I didn't need to know. I didn't need to know about until halfway through, when we had, I think, both collectively a little bit more understanding about who this person is and what we want this person to be. And so by the end of, once we got to Estelle in the finale, I knew that I wanted her to be sort of an echo, a foil to September Brown and Samira. And that terrible choice that she had to make, right? It was an understanding that she is a living being of magic. You can imagine her along the lines of like a personified ley line, right? She is a font of power that sort of gifted her magic to you because she was so enamored by you. Also, very similar to how Arion and Oliver were kind of set up, right? A supernatural being that fell in love with a mortal. However, being in this world was always a risk for you because she was a conduit for great love and great destruction. And the thing she feared the most, somebody and something, whether that's Hallie or compulsion, or just anybody of devious enough intent, could use her to harm you. And that was something that she was never going to be okay with. And to her, it was never, and she said this to you, it was never a goodbye because her true form is magic, right? Is part of the world, and she gifted that to you. And so I don't think of her as gone. I don't think of that choice as being so intense, and I think that's why she doesn't think of that choice being so intense. But it's just not comprehensible to humans. We just don't have the same understanding, and that was a very important thing to me. For one thing that you had said right at the beginning, which really stuck with me, is this is some sort of spirit that we don't understand, and we never will. And so that was very important in the creation of that deal. Was, how do I make this something? I want Alex's perception of it to be different than what it actually is.
That was something I was like very happy that it was like it went without answering, because I didn't think I wanted Alex to understand. I think I wanted her to be forced. I think I wanted her to understand that it was something that had negative ramifications for her to refuse it. But I also didn't necessarily want her to know what the outcome would be. So thank you. I've been dying to know this for like a week now.
No, thank you for making such a great character.
Yeah, I have one last question before Ash closes this out, and that is that I was wondering, and this might be a very quick one, but originally in the episode in which there were people stuck in paintings, it was supposed to be Annie. And I was just kind of wondering of what like the world would have been like if that had happened.
That's a great question. I don't know. It's not
Okay.
This is such a silly short answer, but truthfully, I don't know.
Oh no,
because that is not the story that was
expected.
told.
Yeah.
but I will say it would have been significantly different, because I don't think it would have I truly don't think it would have changed too much about Estelle. I think it would have changed everything about Lou.
Yeah. No, it would have. Definitely 100%. Yeah. And I don't even know what that would look like since it didn't happen. But I was looking more
and
for
who
that
knows,
of like,
maybe Annie gets stuck in the paintings for the entire season,
Yeah.
and we have to get them out at the very end. Like,
yeah.
anything could have happened.
Yeah. I think that it definitely changes more for Lou than it does actually for the actual story. But I wasn't sure if not putting, what was her name, Anaya, in there, like would have shifted things at all. But yeah.
Well, so she wasn't in the painting. She was the
We
one
put
putting
her in
people
them.
in
She's-
paintings.
Yeah,
we
then we
put her there. We also left her in there.
You
Yeah,
guys
she's
left
still in there.
2 bodies around town.
She's still in there.
There's a tree man forever.
There are things that we should probably deal with that we haven't yet. Yes.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah. There's some loose ends.
Yeah. Speaking of loose ends, all of the ones for this story are officially wrapped up, though. I have one last question before I thank you all from the bottom of my heart. But what is a song that either encapsulates your character for you, or what is your character's favorite song? Rapid fire, just go with your gut. What is it? I
You
know.
can't ask me to go with my gut. I have a whole playlist. Hold on, I gotta find it.
I'm gonna pull the one that I put on the Roseville Beach, like our collective track, and that's so Steamboat by Adrian Lenker. Uh, Adrian Lenker is a big thief, and is a queer songwriter. And I found this song. Well, don't fucking judge me. I can already feel Kenzie. I can already feel Kenzie's eyes on me. I found this doing Supercorp research, and it's in one of those playlists as well. But I love this song very deeply. It's this melancholy, like Midwestern kind of folk that's got like a strong beat under it. It's a short song, but it's a song about codependence. I love it so deeply, like every time I listen to it, because it's so evocative. And for me, like Alex's weakness is this codependency that she is running from, not because she knows she is dependent on it, but because she knows that I guess in a way she is dependent on it, but not in the way that you would normally expect. It's not like she needs it constantly, but she has to protect it, if that makes sense. So that's Steamboat by Adrian Lenker. It's on the playlist. If you want to hurt your feelings, give it a listen and think about the witches that are, you know, on opposite sides of the coin.
Oh, sorry, that just hit.
The song I'm going to give for Arian is an invitation to our audiences to go listen to a song that's not in English. It is a song that's on Arian's playlist, and it is called Akian Gulab, which it translates to because gulab means a rose and akian is like your eyes or your gaze, and it is a very it's a very like bright song, very very summer song vibes. But the lyrics are extremely beautiful. It talks about this kind of like longing admiration, as is typical in Bollywood music. This kind of like long distance like longing, and this like waxing poetic descriptions of someone that someone's romantically attracted to. But it is very very deeply Aryan, and I invite everyone to go and check it out. It's Akian Gulab by Mitras. Go and listen to it, and in fact, go onto YouTube to go and read the many English translations that exist out there on YouTube, and enjoy a lovely little bop. You might enjoy just listening to it in the day because it's a good bop.
Yeah, so I do have to say two, and I have to say two for a specific reason. One of them is because I try to make loose playlists that I'm still currently curating more towards music out in the 70s and 60s and 80s. That's like what I was trying to stick to. Um, but I do have to say, in the middle of this, Chaperone did release The Giver, and if that is not a loose song, I don't know what is a loose song. So I have to say that first of all, but second of all, the actual like I think loose song is Lovers by The Runaways.
I had the very special honor of getting to put together a few songs for our songwriter for a theme song for this show, which is very cool. I was not expecting that when we started
See,
recording.
Oh yeah, did y'all
or
not
doing
know
our
that?
world prep.
Sorry.
Um,
Oh yeah, we
I
get a theme
didn't-
song.
Wait, who is it? Who is it?
their name is Lizette. They wrote our theme song for our third season, so they're doing it again for this season. Yeah.
there are a few things that kind of go into it, but ultimately the heart of it, and I opened with this during our initial sessions of world building, and I'm gonna close us off with it too. It's the original popularized Scooby-Doo. It's fun and silly and wacky, and there is no other found family like the Mystery Crew. They love each other, they love everybody that they encounter. it's what we were talking about. It is fierce devotion. People they just meet, they have a fierce devotion to help and aid and protect. And even though it's a little silly and dumb and campy, it's supposed to be. And so that is the song that is Roseville Beach for me.
Well, thank you all for sticking around later than normal this evening and this morning. It's been great having you on this show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss you guys next week when we
Oh,
don't record.
devastating.
Oh man,
Thank you. Great job,
Fantastic
gang.
job, everybody.
we did
Thank
it.
you for being
Love
such
We
a
did it.
wonderful
everyone.
cast of characters to get to be a narrator for. This
Oh,
was such a special
thank you,
privilege and
Alex.
honor.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank you,
Alex.
Thank you so
everyone.
much.